before we get into, I did want to share with you a clip, and I was recommended I share a couple of classes ago, so I just wanted to share it again. This is actually a clip from Dave Ramsey.
When I open up it thing, and it says, so I'm reading through Proverbs, and I'm reading, the Dave where he wants to stick his hand up, and I open up it thing, and it says, if you sign a surety, my son, do this. Now, surety is Old English Bible for going into debt. So if you've gone into debt, do this. Now, if you're looking at this with my set of eyes, I'm saying this is the maker of the universe who says if you're in debt, here's what you do. This is worth reading after the do this. Right? I want to know what he says. This is a game changer. Whatever follows is very important to someone like me. If you're in debt, here's what you do. God says, pay attention. Give no sleep to your eyes, no slumber to your eyes. I got that. That's hard work. I got it. And deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, a bird from the hand of the fowler.
Yeah, hear it?
Now,
Was this? Yeah.
truthfully, I'm no biblical scholar. I'm just a redneck guy reading the Bible. But I'm reading that. I said, deliver yourself. Like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, a bird from the hand of the fowler. I have no idea what you give me an animal metaphor. I was so excited about the do this. And you give me an animal metaphor. Now this is how I pray. So some of y'all need to have reverent prayers and you think, God's not scared of me. It's okay. He can just talk to me like, and so on. What? Animals? What? So I'm scanning the channel that night, scanning the TV channels, just bouncing around. And I landed on the Discovery Channel and God answered my prayer. He told me what it meant. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter, a bird from the hand of the fowler. So I'm watching this thing, and I click and there's the gazelles. They're out there gazelling around. And I thought, I just read about you boys. You're how we get out of debt. And you know the Discovery Channel is not there if the gazelles are there by themselves, right? You know someone else is on the scene. Mr. Cheetah. And gazelles have a little cheetah detector behind their ear, and when they see the cheetah, they're like, cheetah! Run! Because they know the cheetah is the fastest mammal on dry land. He can run up to 82 miles an hour. He can go from 0 to 67 in 4 leaps. This is a bad cat. There's not a gazelle on the planet that can outrun a cheetah. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hand of the hunter. How do you get out of debt? You run! Like your life depends on it! See, look what he did. He picked out a college student.
Teenager. A teenager.
Come here, kid. You need to get a credit card. You need to build up your FICO score, kid. Come here, kid. I'll give you a t-shirt. Sign up, kid. This happened to you in college? Right?
Yes.
How you get out of debt? You gotta run like your life depends on it. The only shot you can wander into debt, you can't wander out. The only way you get out is you run like you gotta go crazy. You gotta lose your mind. You gotta run like death is on your heels, because it is. It's the only way you get away.
All right.
That's good.
So, I don't have to do any more. That was it.
And the class is over.
Enough said. All right, so we're going to be talking about getting out of debt. So that is the purpose, the reason why we want to get out of debt. And it actually be it's the reason why we want it. It's the reason why we want to get out of debt, right? So what I want to do is just give us where we at right now. So some of the principles of getting out of debt. So Proverbs 22 says, just as the rich rules the poor, so does the borrower is a servant to the lender. All right, so we don't want to be a servant. So a motivation to get out of debt. The only debt that we should have is in Romans 13:8. Let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. So that should be our only debt that we have. All right. So this isn't in this PowerPoint. This is usually at the end, but I wanted to bring it up in the beginning part, because I wanted to just. A few weeks ago, Darrell, when he was teaching, he had y'all close your eyes, and he had y'all kind of envision a time where y'all would be out of debt, right? If you wasn't there yet, he had you kind of envision that. And I just want you just to think for about 10 seconds. Just remember that time and when you close your eyes and what you thought about, just for about 10 seconds. So, after we thought about what we would do if we was out of debt, what are some of the things y'all would consider? What would you do if you was out of debt? What would that feel like? I'm gonna start over here.
Out of debt.
Yeah.
I feel like, I'll be like less stressful.
Okay.
Having more family time.
Okay. Yes,
I'll
ma'am.
be traveling
Traveling.
with the RV and then planning mission trips for the countries that I want to go,
Okay.
and it's going to be fun.
Okay. Sir, over there.
Working on it. I've got a ministry I'm trying to put money into at this point.
Okay. So you're already there working on that. vision.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Amen. Ma'am.
It'll feel like freedom.
Freedom. Okay. All right. Oh, we can't ask him.
No,
We're
you
gonna
can't
skip
ask
this
me.
slide.
You can't ask me.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so I'm hearing freedom, family time, right? Be able to vacation, do what you want, because you can, right? Living like no one else,
Oh, yeah.
right? So I like that. I hear that. Okay, so those again are visions and reason why we want to get out of debt. So today we're going to concentrate on the tools and how we get out of debt. And it's a very simple tool that we're going to use. We're going to talk about doing like the snowball. But before I jump into that, I did want to go into, so I know, and this is just something that I asked from another PowerPoint. So when you look at the baby step has strategic steps, right? And they kind of focus on one thing at a time. And it's on purpose that they focus on one thing at a time, because one of the things we could try to do is like one of the saying stages, we could try to do everything at once, right? And it will usually yield to diluted results. Because we have limited resources, no matter what, have limited resources. So we could do but so much with that limited resources. So if we try to distribute our resources in various areas, it may dilute the focus of what we're trying to do for each one of those things, if we try to work on everything at one time. And we may get frustrated, we may give up. All right. So the plan of doing the baby steps, and this is something we're going to do specifically with the Debt Snowball, is prioritize and work each deliverable baby step or debt independently with vigor until complete. Will usually give opportunities for attaboys or attagirls checking this stuff off your list, a sense of actual progress. So we're going to use that in the baby steps. You notice that first thing he does, save that $1,000, then pay off debts, then continue doing things, emergency fund. He's not doing everything all at once. All right, so when we look at doing a debt snowball, what are we basically doing? So the debt snowball method, it's just a way that we pay off our debts, right? It's just one of many ways of doing it. And there's two common ones that we use. We use the debt snowball. There's also a debt avalanche, and there's other ones as well, but those are the two main ones, right? The book talks heavily about the debt snowball, and I'm going to concentrate on the debt snowball, but I'm going to also show you a comparison of another popular one, right? But what does this do? This tells us to pay off our debts in order of balance amount. So we figure out what our debts are, right? We understand what the balance amounts are, and the focus is to pay off our debts in the balance amount. We're going to start with the smallest balance, and we're going to work our way up, right, that way. Now, if we have a debt that has the same balance, then we're gonna put the one with the highest interest rate in front, all right? So we're Debt Snowball, concentrate on debts with balances, with the smallest one first. And if they happen to have a similar balance, the one with the higher interest rate, all right? So then what we're doing is we're gonna be focused on paying one balance at a time. Again, concentrating, prioritizing so we can have a better result. Focus on paying one balance at a time in order of smallest to larger, while still making minimum payments on other debt. So we're not gonna be sending, additional payments on every debt in order to pay every debt off quicker. What we're gonna do is we're gonna concentrate, prioritize that one debt, that smallest debt, and all our extra income, all our residual income, or the residual that we have left off from our spending plan, we're gonna use that to pay off our smallest debt. And then as we're paying that smallest debt off, and after that smallest debt gets paid off, our residual income growth is getting higher because we don't have that debt anymore. And then we're going to the next debt, and we're gonna use all our residual income to pay that debt off. And we're gonna continue the same process until we pay each one off, all right? So, I'm gonna give you an example of how that works. And I'm gonna share with you a family that actually started this class virtually, imaginarily, with you the same time you started, right? So it's a made-up, it's an example family that started the class, and they started, let's say, the same time we started. So the names is David and Shannon, and their last name is Johnson. They are married, have 2 kids. Their kids are 8 and 14. Both are currently 45 years old. They have a combined annual income of $115,000. They purchased a home March of 2019 and financed $296,000 over a 30-year period, which is 360 months. The current value of the home, because it increased in value over the last few years, the current value is $540,000. And as of April, when they started the class, they had a balance of $278,600. They own 2 vehicles. One vehicle is a Honda Accord valued at $13,500. It has a balance of $16,000, and its payments is $350. They have a Honda Pilot valued at $15,000, has a balance of $19,000. Its payments is $425. Those are low payments? Relatively low payments?
No, it's average.
Huh?
It's high, but that's averages though.
Okay. Alright, they have 4 credit cards. They have a Capital One that has a balance of $3,175. Has a minimum payment of $170. Discover balance $2,730. Payments $145. They have a Bank of America. $4,335, and has a payment of $165, and they finally have a Chase account that has a $1,225 balance and payments of $55. All right, so their first step is basically to save was to save $1,000, right? And we talked about that before. Save $1,000. So they was able to complete that. I'm sorry. They was able to complete that in end of May. All right, so let's go into what they did. So the first homework assignment they had was basically to go ahead and do a net worth or a balance sheet. So this may not look like exactly what you have. Information is basically the same, right? So what they did was they figured out what they had available, what cash they had available. And they realized because the money that they do have in the bank was already allocated to pay bills, they realized they really didn't have any money, which is fine, right? Looked at what investment they had. They didn't have any 401ks or anything like that at their job. So again, that's fine. They don't have that yet. They do have the 2 automobiles. We figured that the values of those automobiles, if they was to try to sell it right now, they'll be able to get $28,500 for both those vehicles. Other thing they have is a home, which we said has a value of $540,000. right? Because other items there, they didn't really, feel the need to include that as stuff owned, as far as if they had to sell it. And then we look at what the liabilities they had. So we said they had the credit cards added up to $11,465. They have a mortgage, which is $278,629 as of April, end of April. And they have car loans, auto loans, that had a balance of $35,000. So when you look at this, the total liability is $325,000 compared to the value of their home. This is going to be their net worth, right? So if your net worth is zero and you don't own a home, don't worry about that. Usually, unless you have like a retirement account or a savings account, or you own property or own real estate, if you have debt, more than likely, especially if you have a car loan, the car's usually worth less than the balance of the loans is, unless you have it paid off or far into the loan. You're usually gonna have like a negative net worth value, right? But that's okay. It's not where we at, is where we're gonna end up. But we need to know what we have and where we're going. All right. So what they did was, so after they did this, they did I have it here. So this is something like what we gave you here. So for them, they did their spending plan. All right. So based off for what they make $115,000. They decided to put the net amount of their income. One of them get paid twice a month, and one gets paid weekly. Let me see if I remember which one is which. Yeah, so this one gets, so the spouse, so that's David, he gets paid weekly. And then Shannon, she gets paid twice a month. Not twice a month, but bi-weekly. So she gets paid every 2 weeks. Right? So this is what their net income is. When they consider the tithe, which they tithe off the gross amount, when they consider the tithe, this is what total income they have available. This is what they have, the cash flow. Then after we look at their expenses, and I'm not spending a lot of time with their different expenses because we did that before, but after we look at their expenses, whether the fixed expenses, we looked at their variable expenses, we looked at their semi-variable expenses, we come to see they have a total expenses of $5,831, which gives them a net income of $263. So that's what they have left, though. That's their residual. That's their money that they could use to spend, right? So this they do in the beginning of the month, right? Throughout the month, this is what they did. Now we gave you, this is what, and I'm just sharing this real quickly. This is not something I done on a spreadsheet, but this doesn't have to be done on a spreadsheet. You could do this on paper, you could do this on an app, however you want to do it. But just to give you an idea of what is being done throughout the month, all right? So throughout the month, again, they have all their budgets here, and they compare to what they actually spent, all right? So what typically, something like what I would do is, I would look my bank statements, look at all my spending. I know what I start my beginning of the month with. I know every time I spend something, every time I spend money, I'm gonna track it, and I'm gonna annotate that I spend money for whatever the case will be, right? So I'm tracking every dollar. So I spend money for groceries. I'm like, this would have been like Sam's Club, right? I will say that I had a subtraction from my balance, and I will say, okay, I had that will go with my grocery expense. So beginning of the month, this is what I budget, what my expense will be. Throughout the month, I had different transactions at different times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I had 7 transactions throughout the month that equated to $789, right? So these are all the different transactions I have, and then as I track my transactions and put it in the appropriate spending category, I kind of could track now what to compare my budget, right? What I planned for and what I actually spent, right? And then what I do is I can see what my variance is. Now, some of the things are fixed, so I shouldn't have variance in certain things. And some things gonna vary, right? Because they're not exact. Those are, you know, again, it's a forecast, so we're gonna see what the differences are. These variances are really small because this was kind of planned. It won't be that pretty when you do it the first couple of times. And as you do it more and more, the variance should get better because you get more experience in deciding what your forecast, what your budget's gonna be. But it more than likely won't look like this, all right? So those were the variants. Now, other things that I recommend doing, tracking, this is something I do. I usually put, so I could have everything in one spot. I used to have the website for, if I have to make a payment, I pay everything digitally, online. So I have the website, I have my login information. If I have any credential information I need to know, I have it there. So I can go very quickly, just click on the link. I have the link there, I can click on my link, pay what I need to pay for. So I have all of that there as well. And also I had, because there was a time where I was behind on making my payments, and I didn't want it to go 30 days late. Another thing I would do is I would have like the next due dates, how many days to the next payment. So I have all of this stuff here. Right. But the key thing is here, what you want to do is know that this is my budget, actual variance, and what my residual income is. And your residual income is what you're going to use for your debt snowball, right? So, and this is my spreadsheet. If you was using the paper, it'll be the same information. After I did my budget, this is the actual, these are the variances, all right? So what we're gonna do with that information, all right? So this is when we really get into the debt snowball, all right? So when we do the debt snowball, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a list of all the debt that we owe. So this person had, and generally speaking, we paid off all debt with the exception of our house, right? So this person, they had like 4 credit cards and they had 2 car loans, all right? So the balance as of May 30th, because they just finished, as of the end of this month is when they got their first $1,000 saved, right? And on my example, what they did in order to get that first $1,000, they had a garage sale to make up a little bit of extra money plus the residual income they had. And they did start the balance, they did start the month off with like $950 in their bank, right? So we list all our creditors and we put the balances, we put their interest rate. It's not in any specific order here, but we want to make sure we put the information. So the balances as of when they start the debt calculate, the debt snowball, interest rates, and what the minimum payments are. And then as we can see, this person right now, they have total debt outside the mortgage is $45,000, right? Minimum payments total $1,310, which would have been part of that spending plan, because these payments will be part of that spending plan. So they got $1,310, right? So the next thing we want to do is figure out, so if we have 1310 and we want to do the debt snowball, we want to make sure we have that initial, the amount of that, the residual income that we're applying to the initial snowball, we want to make sure we have that applied here. So we said their residual income was $263. So what they have to attack the debt snowball is basically the payments had anywhere to $1,310, right? Plus that $263 residual income. So between those two things, they have $1,573 to go towards paying off their debts, right? The 1310, they already, minimum payments, already spending plan, residual income, combined $1,573. So this is what we're do here. This is what we're gonna do here. So we're gonna, and we'll give you this tool as well, but from here, we'll select how we wanna pay off these debts. So when we select the debt snowball, what it does is, it prioritizes from the smallest to largest, right? So here we just, this top one, we just put it any order, but we just make sure we have the balance, the interest rates there. And then here, when we put in the debt snowball, it calculates based off of, so when we put snowball strategy, since we select that, it's gonna calculate smallest to highest. Yes, sir?
That's on the app as well.
Yes, yeah. And when it calculates smallest to higher, it put like the Chase first. So basically, so the Chase has a balance of $1,173. And when we pay this off first, it's gonna take us 4 months to pay off Chase using that snowball, right? So if we start this in May 30th, by September 2024, our first credit card should be paid off. Then the next credit card we'll be working on. So we work on the Discover card. And then by March 2025, that should be paid off. You know, yes, this man.
What are the other choices in the strategy category?
We're gonna go over that in 1 second. Let me give you like a minute and I'll be there.
Okay.
And then we have the Capital One. Again, it has a balance of $3,079. And we can see what the interest is we're paying and how many months total from when we started. So by June of 2025, 13 months, we should be done with 3 credit cards, right? So let's say that we wanted to apply another strategy. Let's say what they call in this one is like, for example, the avalanche. The avalanche is something that most people would say to use. Dave Ramsey, when he started off, he was saying this is the method he used. He would tell people this because mathematically this is the best way of doing it, right? Mathematically, is paying off the one with the highest interest first, right? So you probably heard that. Pay off the one with the highest interest, right? Mathematically is correct because you was saving money. If you look here, the total interest paid doing that avalanche is $5,602, right? Compared to the snowball, which is $5,714. So a little over $100. The avalanche is better. So mathematically, that is better, right? The difference is what Dave Ramsey realized and what I saw as well is that if it takes me longer, if you see on this one here, I'm getting my first one in 4 months. The next one I'm getting in 10 months. I see something happen. I'm seeing momentum. I'm excited about the momentum, right? So the probability of me continuing, the probability of most people continuing that are not just crunching numbers will be more, they'll be more apt to continue doing this, right? If they see that they have victories. The avalanche, my first victory is in January, so it takes 8 months. My next victory is in 12 months. My third victory is in 16 months. So I'm getting victories, I'm gonna be successful, but it's gonna take me more time to realize my success. So many times when we try to goal, we get so close to our victory, but because we don't see the victory, even though the victory is right there, we stop right before that victory, right? And we will fail because of so. Yes, ma'am.
I want to add something. For example, we gave you guys several ways of making the $1,000. A lot of people, they don't stop at 1,000. They find out something that they can come and do and add like an extra income that they continue doing and then doing this way faster than what we're showing there. Just a thought.
So you have, so just going back to the debt snowball, all right? So again, it's like $100 more in interest you're gonna pay. Yeah, I'd rather have the $100, but but if the strategy is for me to spend extra $100, but I think I'm gonna complete it, that means I'm gonna have success. To me, I think that's a win. To try to save 100, but I fail because I stop out of frustration, then I end up losing, right? But those are different strategies. You do which strategy you think works best for you. You manage it based on how you know yourself, right? And you know yourself. You need to get the victory sooner. You will you'll use the snowball. If you're a number cruncher, and that's important, then you can do that avalanche. If I look at, so this is how it really works, just so you can see on the table. So Chase, we was talking about Chase. We know what the minimum payments are. Right, so we know what the minimum payments are. We know what the balances are, right? So Chase, our first month, we're gonna make send the minimum payment to all our other credits except for Chase. We're gonna send them that minimum payment plus a debt snowball. So this is how it works: that they're paying $318 for the first 3 months, and then that fourth month, the payoff is gonna be $262. So they're gonna pay $262. Discover the first few months they pay $145, but by that fourth month, that difference that they didn't have to pay to Chase, they're applying it to Discover. So they paying extra to Discover that fourth month, and everybody else they paying the minimum payments. The fifth month they using Discover, they paying the whole minimum payment plus using the full residual income, the increased residual income, and they applying to Discover. And they're doing the same strategy. They keep doing on and on. They keep continuing it until they get to the car loan, the last car loan, where at one point they're making like $1,500, $73 to pay the car loan just so they can pay it off quicker. So in essence, this person here by February, which is in 33 months, this person here could be debt free of $45,000, right? Now, one thing is missing here, right? One thing is missing here is that when I did this, right, I factored that the residual that we're using is based on them getting paid 4 times. One of them get paid weekly, right? So that's based on 4 checks. Other one gets paid bi-weekly. That's based off of 2 checks. It's gonna be 4 months that person that gets paid weekly is gonna have an additional check. It's gonna be 2 months out of the year where that person they normally get paid bi-weekly. They're gonna have 3 checks. So when they have that additional income, which we said, so she's getting like for the example, this one here, their probably income is going to be like about $1,800, a little over $1,800. This is weekly. This is probably about $600. It's about $2,400 extra a month in a couple of months that they're going to have that they could have put that towards their debt snowball. If they apply to the debt snowball, this is actually going to be a lot sooner, right?
And they also can call, right, Dan, and try to lower the interests as well as they.
Yeah, those are different strategies. So there's a lot of different strategies you can do to
have the
be
gazelle
more gazelle-like.
yeah,
To be more gazelle-like for strategy. But when you think about just the basic applications of this, without doing a whole lot, this person could be debt free in 33 months, actually sooner when they're applying that as extra paychecks, right? And then if they were more gazelle-like and they look at their spending plan, they look, okay, I don't need to spend this. I don't need this. So I could cut back on a little entertainment for a little while. So I have entertainment on my budget. I could cut back on certain things. These are other things that they could do because they'll like to pay off those even quicker. All right? And so there's another part of this which we'll do in the second to last week. We'll talk about the investments. We're going to talk about how this couple that didn't have any investment starting in 45 years, by the time they're ready to retire, have $1 million of principal money in their account for savings and be able to live with freedom, respectfully, in retirement ages, okay? So, but we'll see in the retirement age, we'll see that they'll have over $1 million. And if you're starting off younger than that, you can have a lot more. And if you're older, you still can have a good amount of savings. We'll show you that on the week, I think 9 is when we do that. All right. But when we look at this person, so the next steps, which the next class, we're going to talk about finishing the emergency fund, and we're going to talk about we'll talk about finishing the emergency fund for our next class. All right. Any questions on how this works? And any questions on the difference of the snowball versus smallest to highest versus highest interest rate? The difference? Any questions on that? No. All right. Questions?
No.
No. All right. All right. Let's pray. Let's just close out. We go on service.